Hollywood wasn't ready for this. 1 minute, the Golden Globe's red carpet was moving like usual. And the next, the internet completely shifted its focus to someone who wasn't even nominated. Cameras locked in, comment sections exploded, and people started asking the same uncomfortable question all at once. How did a Love Island star just outshine A-list actors at one of the biggest nights in entertainment? And that was only the beginning, because the praise, the backlash, and the quiet industry moves happening behind the scenes tell a much bigger story than anyone expected. For most people who leave reality TV, the path is pretty predictable. A few brand deals, some sponsored posts, maybe a podcast if things go well. And when Olandria walked out of the Love Island villa, that's exactly where many assumed she'd land. She didn't have the loudest fan base at first. She wasn't instantly everywhere. In fact, compared to other cast members, she almost seemed quiet. But that silence wasn't a lack of momentum, it was calculation. While others rushed into influencer deals, Olandria waited. She watched how the industry treated reality stars, learned which doors stayed closed, and slowly positioned herself for rooms people said she'd never be allowed into. At the time, nobody noticed what she was building. But that low expectation phase would end up becoming her biggest advantage. Because the first real test was already on the horizon. The first time Olandria brushed up against the Golden Globe's world, it didn't go the way people expected. Instead of applause, the internet turned nitpicky fast. Comments flooded in about her outfit, her hair, the fit, the styling. Suddenly everyone was a fashion critic. Some said the look didn't suit her. Others claimed she wasn't ready for spaces like that yet. It was the kind of backlash that usually makes reality stars retreat and play it safe. And for a moment, it looked like the noise might actually stick. But behind the scenes, something shifted. Rather than folding under the criticism, Olandria took notes. She adjusted, recalibrated, and prepared for a return that wouldn't just silence the chatter. It would flip the entire narrative. When Golden Globe's night finally arrived, the energy was completely different. The moment Olandria stepped onto the carpet, the shift was instant. Live stream chats started spamming her name. Photographers turned their lenses. Even when other celebrities appeared in frame, the comments weren't about them anymore. It was about her. What made it even wilder was the fact that she wasn't there to accept an award. No nomination, no category. Yet she was pulling attention like a headliner. Interviews stacked up, flashes went off non-stop, and it became clear this wasn't a fluke moment. This was presence. And just as people started processing how much attention she was commanding, the details behind her look began to surface, and that's when the conversation really changed. Then came the detail that stopped people mid-scroll. Olandria wasn't just wearing a designer dress. She was wearing a custom, one-of-one creation. Christian Siriano, made specifically for her, for that exact moment. In Hollywood, that word, custom, isn't just fashion language. It's a status signal. It's the difference between being invited and being invested in. Almost instantly, major outlets locked in. Vogue posted her multiple times. Fashion pages crowned her best dressed. Entertainment blogs shifted their headlines toward her arrival. And suddenly, the same people who questioned whether she belonged were forced to confront a new reality. Designers don't move like this for someone they see as temporary. But even with the fashion world fully tapped in, the internet still had a lot to say. Once the photos hit, the numbers started telling a story nobody could ignore. Every post featuring Olandria shot past the rest. More views, more comments, more shares. Clips of her red carpet moments outperformed actual award winners. In some cases, people weren't even talking about the event anymore, just her. Timelines filled up with side-by-side comparisons showing how her engagement dwarfed long-time industry names. And this wasn't hype being pushed by a network or a studio. It was organic. Fans, casual viewers, even people who didn't know her before that night were locked in. At that point, it became obvious she wasn't just trending, she was driving attention. And when attention shifts that fast, it always triggers a reaction. Especially from the people who think it shouldn't. That's when the tone online started to change. Mixed in with the praise were comments questioning why she was even there in the first place. Some tried to frame it as curiosity, but the message underneath was clear: she hadn't earned the space. The word actor got thrown around a lot, as if influence, relevance, and cultural pull suddenly didn't count. And when those comments started gaining traction, her boyfriend Nick jumped in with a response that went viral almost instantly, shutting down critics with a single line that fans replayed over and over. Instead of slowing her momentum, the pushback only amplified it. Supporters got louder, engagement spiked again, and the divide became impossible to miss. But while all of this was playing out publicly, most people were missing what mattered most. What was happening quietly behind the scenes. What most people didn't realize is that none of this was accidental. Long before the Golden Globes, Olandria made a move that quietly set her apart. She waited. While others from her season rushed to sign with the first agency that called, she held off, even when it meant being the last one without representation. According to interviews, she wanted a team that saw her beyond quick influencer checks. One that understood longevity, positioning, and timing. And once that team came together, the strategy became clear. Fashion first. High visibility rooms. Selective appearances. No oversaturation. It's the same blueprint that's been used to transition faces from internet famous to mainstream star power. And judging by how fast doors started opening after the Globes, that approach may already be paying off, because the industry signals that followed raised even more eyebrows. Almost immediately after the Golden Globes buzz settled, fans started noticing patterns that felt intentional. Luxury fashion houses began interacting with her content. High-profile designers followed her quietly. And while nothing was officially announced, online chatter picked up fast. Reports started circulating that she could be on the radar for Paris Fashion Week, with some even speculating about a Met Gala appearance later in the year. To be clear, none of that has been confirmed, but in this industry, attention like that doesn't come out of nowhere. These are the same early signals people overlooked before other fashion-forward stars broke fully into the mainstream. And as excitement around her next move grew, so did the intensity of her fanbase, setting the stage for a whole new kind of chaos online. That chaos hit fast. Fan pages dedicated to tracking Olandria's every move started disappearing overnight, reportedly mass-reported and taken down. But instead of slowing the momentum, it backfired. New pages popped up almost immediately and grew even faster than the originals. Supporters doubled down, timelines filled with reposts, and the sense of loyalty around her became impossible to miss. For someone barely a year removed from reality TV, that level of digital mobilization was rare. It showed she wasn't just being watched, she was being defended. And when a fanbase moves like that, it usually means one thing. The person at the center has crossed into cultural territory that goes beyond a single show or moment. Which raises the bigger question that still hasn't been answered. Where does this trajectory actually end? What started as a single red carpet appearance turned into a clear turning point. Olandria didn't just attend the Golden Globes. She reshaped the conversation around who's allowed in those rooms and why. The criticism, the praise, the speculation, even the chaos online all pointed to the same reality. This wasn't a viral moment that fades by next week. It was momentum. And in an industry where attention is currency, she proved she knows how to hold it. Whether the next stop is Fashion Week, another major awards show, or something nobody's predicting yet, one thing is obvious. This is no longer about where she came from. It's about how far this run can go, and whether Hollywood is ready to keep up when she decides what's next.